Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today I have an update on a story we read a little over a month ago. And it is quite the saga, so if you missed this one, I recommend you go watch it first. I'll link it in the description and pinned comment below. Let's see what good old Jakey boy has done now, shall we? Final update. My son just left town. I was hoping for no more drama or anything of the like, but it just didn't stop. Yes, Jake sold his condo. For how much, I don't know, but he probably made a profit flipping it. Last Saturday, he pretty much just took whatever he could fit in his car and left. From what I know, the last few weeks have been hectic for my son. People all over town know what he did because the gossip train never stopped. At one point, Jake nearly got in a fight with a man at a bar because this guy called him out in front of everyone there. I tried to take the initiative by going to see him one last time. I hoped maybe we could talk things out and make amends before he left town, because at this point, I'd realized his moving away was the best thing he could do for himself. He'd already destroyed his own reputation, and he was better off starting over somewhere else. When I got there and knocked on his door, he refused to open it. I tried to say I only wanted to talk, and he told me through the door there was nothing to talk about, other than the fact that I ruined his life. There was a bit of a pause where he was only speaking intermittently. Then he suddenly went on a rant about the ring, how I should have just let Sarah keep it, and that I should have also offered to pay for the copy. He then stated that it didn't matter anymore. Sarah was confirmed crazy, and they're through for good, just like how he's through with me and his sister. Well, that got me mad, and I retorted that what he did was unacceptable. He's lucky I didn't have him arrested for everything he's done, and literally everyone who knows what he did is against him. That's kind of a giant red flag that shows you're in the wrong, no? Then I told him to drop the act he's put on for the sake of pride. He knew what he did was wrong and just won't admit it. And I'm tired of trying to stick up for him. I didn't escalate the situation with anyone. He and Sarah did that. I'm tired of being blamed by him for his wrongdoings. That's the sort of thing narcissists and cowards do. His mother and I raised him better than that, and he should know that his mother wouldn't have approved of his actions, but she's not here to say it. There was a silent pause on Jake's end for a few seconds, and then he said, "You, Dad." After he said that, I could hear him crying and hitting things inside. That's when I noticed down the hall that one of Jake's neighbors was poking her head out of her door. She went back inside the moment I looked at her. Jake refused to say anything more to me, so I just left. When I was leaving the building, a police car pulled up right in front of the condo building. Two officers got out of the car and asked my name. When I told them who I was, they said they'd been called by someone in the building saying I was trying to break into their apartment. I said I had an argument with my son through his door, but I did not once try to force my way in. I told the whole story of what happened and then pointed out which neighbor had been watching and listening, and that the building had CCTV. One of the officers went up to talk to the neighbor, while the other detained me with cuffs. He was very polite and said that the cuffs were just temporary, since they don't know who was telling the truth. I said he was just doing his job, and he let me sit down on a bench nearby while we waited. The officer who went in the building called on the walkie-talkie after about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not entirely sure how long, since I couldn't look at my watch, but he said that the neighbor's story more or less matched mine. He was also going to talk to the building security and check the CCTV for that hallway. I just sat waiting on a bench near the entrance, but the kind officer pulled up a radio app on his cell phone and let me listen to it for a while to pass the time. The other officer finally called back on the walkie and told his partner to uncuff me because the CCTV had cleared me. He said that while the audio wasn't great, you could see and hear enough to show I never once tried to force my way in. I was uncuffed, and after the other officer got back, the two of them briefly spoke to each other for a moment, then asked if I was the guy whose son stole his dead mother's ring. I confirmed I am, and asked how they knew. They both said that they heard about it it through the grapevine, and after hearing my version of events, they put 2 and 2 together. One of them said he was in the office the day Sarah was arrested, and confirmed the accusations of her acting insane. Apparently, she was behaving like a wild animal, and trying to bite at them. She made several threats from, "Do you know who my parents are?" to, "I'm going to castrate you." I could honestly only feel embarrassed by it all. The officers told me to just go home, and that I was probably better off not coming back. I just nodded and left. I saw the police go back into the building as I was leaving, likely to talk to Jake. I know it was him who called the police because his neighbor, who I guess knows Amber, messaged me later on social media saying that the officers gave him a solid chewing out for wasting police time, to the point that he was crying again. It sounds like he heavily embellished what was going on when he called the police. He's beyond lucky they didn't arrest him for calling them under false pretenses. I went home and was comforted by my daughter Amber. She told me I tried, and it's not my fault that Jake has gone bad, but it still hurts. I might have lost my son permanently. I ended up taking a day off work and locked myself in my office to play Dungeon Warrior 1 on an NES emulator and eat vanilla ice cream to try and unwind. My son left town over that weekend. I may never see him again, but if I do, I hope he understands that I'll always care about him. Yes, he wronged me, but I'm still his father. He could come to my door tomorrow wanting to talk, and I'd let him in. I just hope that day doesn't take 10 or 20 years. Added information. Some have wondered how small of a town I live in for things to have spread so fast. It's actually not that small of a town, more of a slightly below average sized city. But one thing that made it possible for word to spread so fast was family. I personally come from a small family, but my wife came from one that's quite frankly huge and very close-knit. When I tell you that her extended family is everywhere around the city, I am not exaggerating. I can run into one of them at any given time, just walking around or going to the store. And a lot of these relatives are the type to love gossip. When my son went looking for familial support for his actions online, that's when the gossip train started. First, they told Jake off for what he'd done. Then, they started telling everybody they know what happened. I never wanted it to escalate like that, but it just did so on its own. It just turned into one of those 15 minutes of infamy situations for Jake and should have died down quickly. But my son's ex Sarah only made it worse by telling everyone she knew in order to try and get support. That basically doubled the problems, as both of them lost all their friends over the situation. And so many people I don't know, who I've never given my contact info to, messaged me. I have no idea how they got it, but it doesn't really matter anymore. Now that my son has left, people have simmered down about it. I managed to get most of the extended family to take down their social media posts about Jake within the first week or two. But of course, by then, the damage had already been done. I put out the word asking people to remove any posts made about the situation, and essentially begged them to just let this end. I didn't want to be in the spotlight. I just wanted things to go back to normal, but the escalation by both Jake and Sarah only made things worse. Also, some wondered about the guy who recognized Jake in a bar and started a conflict with him. I've heard he was a neighbor of one of Jake's former friends, so it's no surprise he knew what Jake looked like, if that really is the case. And yes, despite my age, I do enjoy some old video games. I don't own any of the old consoles anymore, but I keep some of the games I loved when I was young as ROMs to play on my PC. They're a good way to unwind once in a while. I'm sad to read that OP still wasn't able to get through to his son, but unfortunately, for some people, especially those with a wounded pride and potential narcissism, they don't wake up to reality for a really long time, or in some cases, ever. I hope for OP's sake, his son isn't the latter, but in all honesty, I really think that Jake truly doesn't think he's in the wrong in this situation. Maybe I'm just cynical, but I think OP is being a little bit naive believe in regards to thinking that his son knows what he did wrong, because I don't think he does. I truly think that Jake believes that his dad ruined his life, but honestly, that doesn't really matter much. And I think the best possible thing OP can do is just give his son some space. OP can totally send a quick text every now and then, like, "Hey son, just sending a quick text to let you know I love you and hope you're well," but just leave it at that. Let him know you still care, but don't pry if he doesn't respond. Giving Jake space and simply just leaving the line of communication open for if/when he's ready to talk, but nothing more, would be the right move here, in my opinion. But anyway, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this Entitled People update. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!